Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, welcome you to lesson 8 in our series. So today we intend to go over the introduction once more about verbs in general. Then we'll focus on the past tense, and then we'll see how much time we have for the present tense. But these are the two most important tenses that you will encounter in Arabic, and it's important for us to grasp them both. And they're quite easy to wrap your head around once you see the picture and the symmetry in terms of the table that I'm going to show you just now. Okay, so where we're doing the past tense and present tense, and then the next lesson, hopefully we'll do maybe one or two modes depending on how the time goes. Okay, so basically a verb is a doing or action word. So it conveys motion, and by its nature, it gives tense. Now, we have normally three tenses: the past tense, the present tense, and the future tense. You can take any doing word, like for instance, eating. I ate will be past. I am eating now, and I hope to eat or I will eat. That would be the future. Okay, so any verb, whether it's reading, writing, sitting, yawning, sleeping, you have it in these three tenses. Then the next thing that a verb includes is who's doing that action. And it could be any of these people, either myself, that's I, or we, a group of two or more than two of us, or the male would be a he, a she, and the you can be either male or female and one or two or more than two, and they or them can also be either masculine or feminine, depending on how many of them are doing that particular action. Then we said the third thing about verbs is that you have what is called voice. The active is the most commonly used. The active is, the example was the boy kicked the ball. We know who kicked and what they kicked. So the boy is the subject and the ball is the object. So this verb here, because it's got the subject and the object, this is an active verb. It tells us very clearly who's doing what. Whereas in the second example, where we're using the verb kicked, but we're not saying who kicked it. Right? And we're only saying that the ball was kicked. Could be by a girl, by a boy, by me, by you, by us, whatever. So in this second one, the voice is what we call passive voice. And sometimes in Arabic, it's just by a change of the vowel sign. You can change it from active to passive. But that I'll show you examples of later. All right, then we have moods. Now we have like basically the normal present tense is also called the imperfect indicative. So that's just a technical term, indicative for the normal present tense. Then we have another mood of the verb, which is subjunctive. It's a big word for now. Just don't have to remember it also, but just keep it in mind. Even Jassav is a new word that we haven't heard in English, but we'll get to using that, and then you know what that is about. Imperative is quite easy because it's from the word command. You know, when you're telling somebody to do something. For instance, if I tell you read or sit or sleep, you know, if I command you to do something, then that is the imperative sort of mood of that verb being used. All right, and then we have the different forms, and there are 1 to 10 commonly used forms. Some verbs will have maybe a form 1, a form 2, a form 5, and maybe a form 10. Another verb might have just a 2 and a 5. Another one might have a 7 and an 8 and a 1. You know, so it varies from verb to verb. This is important for us to know when, especially for those of us serious in going to study Arabic at a deeper level, where you want to maybe use an Arabic dictionary and find out the word. You know, once you see the features of a form, say 10, with alif, sin, da in front of the 3 letters of the verb, then you know that the Roman 10 in the dictionary implies alif, sin, ta, and then say the verb was kabara, it will be istakbara. right? So that alif sin ta tells you it's form 10. But we'll come to that as well. I'm going to go through the forms very slowly so you'll understand all of them and you'll be able to see the features very easily. Okay, the adverb is another part of speech. So we had a verb here, and these are all the features of the verb. And the adverb is something that tells you more about the verb, right? It adds meaning, so it qualifies the verb, right? So it tells us how the action was done. And generally, it ends in ly, as you can see in all of them, or most of them. Some of them don't have ly, but essentially it's telling us how that action was being done by that person. Okay, then we have types of verbs. Now, there are three main sort of divisions of verbs. Triliteral, from tri you get like a triangle. It's three sides of a shape. So triliteral means there are three letters, right? Three base letters, and generally most words in Arabic boil down to or come back to their essence, which is three base letters. So if I give you an example of, say, kataba, right? Any other word related to it, say maktaba, for instance, right? A library, bookshop. Maktab is an office. Right? Katib is a writer. Okay. If you look at all these noun forms of the verb, right? You can how you get to the root is you omit the weak letters, that are alif, waw, and ya. Those are three weak letters that become in the word. And then the memes in the front normally show you either the person, a place, or sometimes the person doing that action. Also, the tamar buta shows you a feminine, and you can drop that and drop the meme, and then you're left with the three base letters, which is kataba. So in the dictionary, if you didn't know what the word maktab means, you won't find it under the letter meme in the dictionary. If you go alphabetically, alif, ba, ta, sa, right down to meme, you won't look under meme. Instead, you look under the root, which is kataba. Once you identify these three main letters, then you know where to look for that word. And under kataba, the root, you get all the verb forms of the kataba. Then you found all the noun forms, all the noun derivatives from that verb appearing one after the other. And even the persons doing this thing. And all the variations of kataba you get under the root kataba. So that's why it's important for us to identify the three main letters and leave out all the prefixes, the suffixes, and sometimes even if they're infixes, we leave that out and then you get to the root. So basically what we're saying is triliteral is the most common of a verb form, kataba, laiba, qara'a, nama, all of them, mainly three letters, okay? Then you get, so maybe over 90% or so are of this category, okay? So most of them, triliteral. Then you get a double verb where there are just two letters, da, for instance, right? And then yadu'u is the present tense, where there's this ya coming in the front. We'll come to that in the present tense part of this lesson, or maybe the next lesson, for us to remember that sometimes you can get a two-letter verb, like hadda is another example. Okay, those are what we call double verbs. Where one letter is doubled. That's why it's called a double verb. Okay, a quadrilateral, quad, is a quad bike, and quad is to do with four. So normally, or sometimes two letters that are repeated. Like zalzala is to shake or tremble, like zilzal is an earthquake. Gharghara is the act of gargling a mouth. Okay, so these are just, broadly speaking, the three kinds of base verbs that you can find. Now we move on to the past tense verb. Now, this is a table I showed you previously in the pronouns, if you remember. But I'll show you the pronouns and the attached pronouns again just now. But essentially, this is what the template that applies to everything we're going to study in Arabic, where we have number, right? Whether it's 1, 2, or more than 2. Okay, so that's the first feature, number, running across like this. Okay. Then we have person, which is either third, second, or first. And the corresponding with third is he or they in the masculine, she or they in the feminine, you in the masculine, you in the feminine, and then I or we in the first. So this is what we call person, right? This and the corresponding pronouns that go with the third, second, and first. Then gender, we said there's only two genders in Arabic, masculine and feminine. You get that in the second person also, but in the first person, both genders, we use the same word for it. Okay, then we go on to the pronouns, and I'm going over this once more because some of it relates to the next verb table I'm going to show you. So here you have huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna. But the common feature in all of these is the letter ha. You can see there's a ha in all of them, right? Then the other feature is this alif that shows dual. Right? And this one is just unique. The one is a meme and one is a noon. But generally, you notice the noons are the ones for feminines. You see? Right? Likewise, with the second person, you have anta, tuma, tun, and anti, antuma, antunna. This one is important because this is exactly a replica of what you're going to see in the past tense verb. Like kataba will become katabta. You can put the verb in there. You masculine wrote, you two masculine wrote, or you plural masculine wrote. Right? So you're going to see this feature of the tertumatum coming in just now in our past tense verb. Right? And this likewise the sti tumatun as well is going to become a feature in our verbs. All right, the ana is unique. Ana is just I, and nahnu is we and we. Okay, now here in the ana, I must point to this alif here. That's very important. You'll see that coming up in one of the verbs later. And then the noon versions, the nahnu, the na comes in the dual. These are standalone pronouns. And if you go to the dependent pronouns, again here you can see the features very succinctly. It's without those other letters like who here. The wow is gone, but just the who remains to show it's his book or his pen or whatever. Huma is used there. Home is there. Ha, Kitabu Ha is her book. Kitabu Huma would be there, two books. And likewise, right? So Kakumakum, Kikumakunna. You can see the rhythm from the previous one as well. And here you have a ya, there you have a na. Okay, so if you just keep that in the back of your minds, because the next table is the past tense verb table, which is the new thing we're doing today. So if you take our letter, our key three letters which we're using as an example is a k, t, b. Right? When we have this voweling here at the end, like k, t, b is like the normal voweling on a three-letter verb, you can get sometimes a vowel where this can be a kasra or this can be a dhamma in the middle letter. But essentially, the first letter and the last letter is always fatha, fatha in the three-letter verbs. Right, so kataba, if you add your a here at the end, you get you, right? So it means they too wrote. A, and then here you get a wow and a leaf coming in. Here you're getting a suffix, here you're getting a suffix, right? Coming at the end, an additional letter or letters that show the masculine form of the third person. Right. Then when we come to feminine, the star is a feminine indicator that this is she wrote. Now look at the star. This star got a sukun. Okay, remember that it's a sukun here. Here it's a fatha. Here it's a kasra. Okay, and here it's a dhamma. So look at the subtle change, just one sort of feature that gives us this, right? The masculine is a te, T is the feminine version of it, and the tu is the I version of it for both genders. Right, so can you see the one common thing in this first column here, this column here that we're talking of singular, is in the male he version, there's no extra letter here. It's just the root, the base means he did whatever is that base word. Huh? But as you change it to she or you or I, you need to bring in the star either with the sukun, a fatha, kasra, or dhamma. Okay, so that's the one common feature you can see in these for you. Right, then if you're going still across here, from katabat, the star here, you're adding an alif here. Can you see that alif to show you? Right? And the ta remains to show it's feminine, the third person. And then here, we're adding just a noon at the end. Katabna is they more than two people wrote females. Okay, so this is the first, like the third person group of 6 that we need to remember. Now, how I remember it personally is I remember it as a little song, right? And maybe if it helps you, you also remember it as a song. Can you see this? U here. Here it's here it's an here it's an U. You see that U? Okay. Then in the feminine, we have, it's a bit hard because this is a ta with a sukun. It's articulated because of the ba in front. So I'll just put a at because the t is the important part in this little song of ours, right? At. There the ta comes in, but with the alif, so it's ta, and here it's na, just short na. Okay. So this is part of our song, right? For the third person. Then we go to the second person masculine. It's quite straightforward. Here you have katapta, toma, tum. Right? You remember in the attached pronouns we had a similar thing, right? Ka, kuma, kum. So here you're having a ta, tuma, tum. Okay. And the feminine is ti, tuma, tum. Right? So here you have ta, tuma, tum. And here you have ti, tuma, tum. Second person. And this goes with the green. Okay. Then is two, and here is na and na. Right? So this one I remember it is tu na na, and you know in Urdu they say tu is you and na na is grandfather or whatever. So it's easy to remember tu na na because you think of it as I is two and nana is like the dual or plural of it in both genders. We're confusing the genders here because nani is feminine, but here na is the masculine and feminine form of this particular song that I'm trying to make you remember so that you can remember. And if you remember these sort of ending vowel signs or added letters that come to the end, then you have essentially, you understand the full past tense conjugation table. That you understand, you can put any verb in the place of these three letters, kataba. Like you can say ka, maybe kara'a, right? Kara'a. Now if you take kara'a and replace it in this whole table, you can get kara'a here, kara'a, kara'u, kara'at, kara'ata, kara'na. Here is kara'ta, kara'tuma, kara'tum, kara'ti, kara'tuma, kara'tunna, kara'tu, kara'na, kara'na. Okay, so there's a kara'a example. Take another verb, la'iba means to play. Right, la'iba. And here's an example where I told you the second letter could be either kasra, dhamma, or the fatha. Right? So this is an example of a kasra letter. Right? So la'iba means he played. So la'iba will be in this block here. La'iba here. La'ibu. Here it will be la'ibat, la'ibata, la'ibna. لعبت لعبتما لعبتم لعبتي لعبتما لعبتن and لعبتنا. Okay, so any verb, any three-letter verb that you know of, you can insert it in this table, and you get the full sort of possibilities of person, gender, and number of the verb just by looking at these suffixes at the end and the voweling on the initial letters. That kataba obviously just on its own, but everything else has got a suffix that you need to remember. All right, so if I was a choir leader, I'll ask you all to sing it to yourself. Say u, at, ta, na, ta, tuma, tum, ti, tuma, tunna, tuna, na. Okay, if you say it a few times, you get a hang of it, and once you know the song, you'll be able to apply it in any verb table of the three-letter formation. In fact, even the two-letter and four-letter, double and quadruple follow the same pattern. Like ghargara will be here, ghargara with alif, ghargaru, they gargled. So it's the same pattern that follows in all the verbs. Okay, now let's see this in practice. I'm giving you a few short sentences using kataba. Now we're just looking at third person for now. So by third person, I mean these are the pronouns of the third person, right? So huwa is the singular, and the verb that follows is, if it's singular, it will just be kataba, straightforward. If it's here, you say it's katabat with the ta or the sukun on it. Huma will be kataba in the masculine, and ta in the feminine, katabata. And then hum is a waw alif, tu, and just a n, right? So it would be at, a, ta, u, and na. Right, now I'm looking at it, the table going downwards, not across, right? Remember the song went across, Here I'm showing you the table going down because we're going he, they, going in a different direction, okay? Sorry, no, we're going across this way, sorry. Sorry. All right, then we go on to the second person. Again, we're going across. Here we have the leaves. Can you see? Auntie is you, and you. Dew. Masculine, feminine. Tum, tunna. Can you see essentially these pronoun forms give you the ending of the verb forms as well. So the way this pronoun ends is what we're using, that end letter repeated in the end of the verb to give you the same person and gender of the verb in the second person. Okay, then we go on to the first person. Ana. The unique thing here is this one is a two. It doesn't take an alif or anything. Right? So just remember this one is two. And we said the next two are nana. Right? Katabna. And the only thing here we can see is the noon comes in there. And then we have alif for Jew, and then an alif for plural. Okay, so this is just one example of the full kataba in a short sentence. And if you know the pronoun table, you'll know the past tense table because there's a lot of similarity between the two words. All right, now let's look at some short sentences with other verbs where you have here, katabat, she wrote, and this is a letter. Can you see that the double fatha means a letter, right? Indefinite, there's no al there. So she wrote a letter. Now, In Arabic, you can say the sentence like this, here katabat risala, or if you want to omit the pronoun here, right, you can even omit it, and the sentence will be exactly the same meaning. Because here you say she, and this is the verb to wrote, and then a letter. Can you see that? So you don't actually need to say the pronoun and that. If you got the right number tense gender here, the sentence is still perfect. Likewise with sharibtu, you can either say ana sharibtu alma, or you can leave the ana out. You still can get I drank the water. Likewise with whom, we have qara'u, and then kitaban, a book, and nahnu akalna tufahan. Tufahan is the plural form, so, broken plural. Because tufahatan, written like this, is one apple. Tufahan without the ta marbuta makes it plural. Okay, and then jealousy is anti jealousy, and then kursi on the chair. And here we know that the preposition makes this noun genitive in case. Alal kursi. Right? Here it's accusative because it's the object. And here is a preposition, so therefore this is genitive. This one also is object, so therefore it's Qara'u kitaban. So it's supposed to be a double fataya, kitaban. Sharibtu al-ma, there's an al there, and therefore it's fatha, one fataya. This is also accusative in case because it's the object. Likewise, here is also the object. So your case, the neg, nominative, accusative, genitive, comes into play on the nouns. This concept of case doesn't appear in verbs. Okay, that's the one fundamental difference. Case, nominative, accusative, genitive, un and in, u, e is the ending of the vowels on a noun, show the case. Whereas in verbs, we don't have a concept called case. Verbs got other concepts like plural or tense or voice or form or mood. Right? Those are the 5-6 concepts we related to verbs. Okay, let's look at examples from the Quran. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَلَهُمْ أَجْرٌ غَيْرُ مَمْنُونٍ. Now here we have the 3 base letters you can see is Ain, Mim, and Alam. And there's your 3 base letters. When you add a oo sound here to it at the end, oo, where is they, masculine plural, right? Kataba, kataba, katabu. You know that katabu, the oo coming in at the end, this oo here showing us that it is they, except those, right? So those who have faith in the they is implied here, right? They have done righteous deeds. Now, amanu technically is the same principle. Can you see that oo coming in here, amanu? But I haven't covered it for now because amana, this verb here is what we call a third form verb, right? So we haven't done it now, so just ignore it for now, but it's the same principle. They believed and this is they did. We're just doing the first form verb. So for now, we just look at amilu. All right, here's another example, fa'ala. This is a straightforward 3-letter verb. Fa'ala means to do. And here the past tense is how. Have you not seen how your Lord has dealt, is done with the ashab al-fil, right? The companions of the elephant. Here, alladhi jama'a malo adada. Jama'a means from jama'a. Jama'a is together or collect. Jumu'ah is a day of gathering. Jama'a is a group, a community as well. So jama'a, jumu'ah, everything comes from jama'a. Jama'a means in this context to amass wealth and then to count it over and over. Addada is to repeat counting over and over. Other examples. This here in the front is this interrogative particle, a particle that introduces a question. So hal and means is, are, or am. Okay? This is the particle that introduces a question. So we don't use the question mark or exclamation mark in Arabic, but essentially this is a question, right? And you get the clue from this hello in the front. Then you have ra'a is your 3-letter verb, and then the ta is for anta, you. Right? Ra'a is actually past tense, so it's have you seen him who denies the religion? And here it's translated, did you see him? It's almost like present tense, the way the English is reading, but in technical terms, this is a past tense, so have you seen the one who? Right? That is the past tense version of the meaning of the verb ra'a. Right, so that's ra'a is the base verb and the ta is for you. And here as well, فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. فَرَغَ is the root. To have done something, or when you complete something, when you get farig means you now have free time on hand because you've done something complete. So faragha is the verb to have done something. Fansab means you must still strive hard, right? And this we'll do in the imperative when you have a sukun there, like ikra, it's the command form. You must still do something, right? So even though you are free, you must still carry on doing the good deeds or whatever has been encouraged. We have been encouraged to do. Then we look at لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ. خَلَقَ is our root and nun alif at the end is we created al-insan, man, fi ahsani taqwim, in the best of modes or best of forms. So khalaqa is the root and na is the first person plural. And surely we created this. We is a royal we, referring to Allah, who can talk like a actual king, saying that we, he doesn't say I created, he says we created you, or human beings, in the best of forms. Okay, then, all right, so just to recap, this is the past tense that we just did now. Okay, and now we move on to the next tense, which is the present and future tense. And this is the one table that applies to both tenses. Right, so the present tense is used to represent something happening currently, or right now at the moment, this instant. This is present tense. Okay, how it is indicated on a word is through two things. One is there's a prefix that comes before, and it's one of 4 letters: alif, nun, ya, or ta. And there's also a suffix, as you can see in some of these. So first of all, let's do the prefix. The alif comes in here, alif, and that alif is I. Right? The noon comes in on these two here, noon and noon. We. Right? So we think of, we remember this as innate. Innate, it means alif, nun, ya, and ta. Right? If you remember these innate letters, you know that they are prefixes to a verb which introduces the present tense of it. Okay, the alif and the nun in the first person. Then the ya and ta come in. The ya comes in here, 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 and here. Right, so it's in all the masculine in the third person, but in the feminine only in the one feminine. Here we are. Here you can see there's a ta, and here is a ta, and here is a ya. Okay, so this is one unique element of it's, that goes against the grain, as it were. You would think this is going to be a ta, but it's not a ta for the simple reason that the ta comes in here. So you look at this verb and this verb, they're the same. So to differentiate the ya of this version of the verb with the na at the end is for feminine they, and here the ta with the na is the you feminine version. Okay, so these two you can see the similarity. Then we come to the second person, tak tubu, exactly the same as this. So there can be ambiguity here where tak tubu can either mean she is writing or you are writing masculine. But it normally clarifies itself in the sentence. When Maybe with your pronoun, you can say here, you can say anta here. And that way the ambiguity goes away because the anta taktubu is correct, and here the here taktubu is also correct in this one. All right, then we have taktubani. And taktubani is a common thing here. It's also common here. Can you see it is? There are three blocks that have taktubani in it. All right, and then here we have the una. So here you have the yaktubuna, and there you have a taktubuna. Can you see it is the one letter that gives you the change in meaning of here it's masculine, and here it's also masculine, but it's you. Then the one unique thing that comes in the feminine is this ina here, taktubina. Okay? So the ina comes in here, and just the una there, and the una there, and the na and na there. So there's a few of them that come with na in it, which you need to just remember. Okay. Taktubani and then taktubna, and then here you have the normal singular aktubu, naktubu, naktubu. So nothing to remember in this particular one except the alif and nun in the first person. All right, so the slightly like maybe not so much confusing. You get used to it after a while, but what looks like the ya coming in all of these in this column, in this row here. Right? Here you get a the, but you get one ya coming in this last block here. Okay. Then here you get the the in the front. All of these six, right? All of them got a the in the front. Then you have just the singular is just taktubu, and here you have ani and una, ani and una. Here you have from an ina you get an ani and a na. Okay, but different. And then aktubu, naktubu, naktubu. So this one can't make a song out of this one, but you could just have a graphic memory to remember these few unique sort of elements. I think the main unique one is perhaps this one here, which has got the ya in front and a na at the end. But otherwise, there's a kind of similarity between this table and other tables that we've done. Okay, and then the easiest tense to remember is actually the future tense, because if you know the present tense, which is this table, all you're doing is you add a sir in front. Sir yaktubu, exactly the same, will be he will write. Okay, so this change from present tense to future tense. Sir makes it will. So he will write is sir yaktubu. Here to be sir yaktubani. Again, sir in front, and it's joined. Right? So it's linked to this yaktubani, exactly the same with no letters falling off. All the letters remaining. Sir yaktubani is they too will be writing. Sir yaktubuna ya will be they plural are masculine are going to be writing. Feminine, sa taktubu, sa taktubani, sa yaktubna. Exactly the same verb with the same form. And here it will be sa taktubu, sa taktubani, taktubuna. Exactly the same rule, just put prefixing a sa. Same here, sa taktubna, sa taktubani, sa taktubna. Sorry, sa taktubina, yeah, and here it's sa taktubna. And here it's sa aktubu, sa naktubu, sa naktubu. Okay, so you can either use a sa, which is ordinarily seen, or you can use this word here, sofa. It's the same thing. You can put sofa instead of sa, and sofa yaktubu, you will write. There's a slight difference in meaning. Sa is more like a immediate future, and sofa is like a faraway future, right? Like a future in after a month or a year or something, like a little distant future, sort of you use sofa for it. Sa is more the immediate future. All right, so this is the future tense as well as a present tense verb in one. And if you want to look at maybe just some short sort of sentences with it, yaktubu. If you put a huwa with it, you get yaktubu as well. Taktubu, here, taktubu. Yaktubani, huma yaktubani. Taktubani, huma taktubani. which is feminine, is a taya, ya for masculine, and yaktubuna and yaktubna is the plural of they. Okay. Then you look at the second person, anta taktubu, taktubina. This unique thing about the feminine anti, right? Antuma is the same. Ani, antum Scott una, and here is the ta with the nun at the end, taktubna. Okay, and then the I version will be aktubu, naktubu. Okay, so I think let me pause at that point. Maybe it was a bit much to remember for today. But let me assure you, it's going to, once you've seen it the first time, maybe you kind of, but there's a bit much to maybe absorb. Like if you look at this table here, there was a lot happening in it in the front of the verb and at the end. But once you kind of see the patterns in it, you can remember it easily. And the more examples we do, it will come like second nature to you. You'll just see, you look at the word, and if you just see ani, then you know it's jewel, right? Whether it's a noun or a verb, you have ani is coming in there. And the unas are normally the plural masculine of they and you. The first person is very easy. It's just aktub, naktub. So essentially, it will come naturally to you as well. You just need to remember this one. Maybe make an effort to study it and remember it. And if you want to, I can send you a blank table like this, and I'll tell you, use the word kara in the table, and you'll use no, just you'll add a ya in front or the alif nun ya ta ya, and then you'll add your anis or una or na or whatever the case is at the end, and you can then conjugate kara in these 15 blocks easily. I'll give you another verb like say samia is to hear or listen, right? Samia. Same thing, you can put yes ma'uya, yes ma'aniya, and it's easy to fill in the table. So any verb, these prefixes and suffixes will apply to any verb, and you'll have the different tenses, modes, the genders and number for the particular verb in question. Okay, so with that, I'll end today's lesson. I will give you a worksheet 4, and I'll publish it tomorrow. And that will be, get a week to get that done. So next other Sunday, not this Sunday, next Sunday, I'll release that solution as well. So this particular worksheet 4 will cover these 2 lessons of idafa, past tense verb, and a little bit of this present tense verb, just to consolidate what we have learned. Okay, so let's end with wal asr. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal asr, inna al-insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu s-salihat, wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr.